afternoon. Good afternoon. That's better. We're here to have a celebration today. On behalf of the Lexington Select Board, Town Manager Jim Malloy, Deputy Town Manager Kelly Axtell, and my colleagues on the Lex250 Commission, welcome to the official kickoff of the Lex250 celebrations. My name is Suzie and I'm Chair of the Lex250 Commission and Vice Chair of the Select Board, and it is wonderful to see such a large crowd here today. Whether you are a first-time visitor or a long-time resident, no matter what your affiliation is with Lexington, you are welcome here, and we are so glad you are joining with us today to kick off the official Lex250 celebrations. As we begin our program this afternoon, please join me in acknowledging the following guests. We are thrilled, honored, and privileged to have with us our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll. Our British Consul General of New England, Dr. Peter Abbott, OBE. The Consul General of France in Boston, Mr. Mustafa Soykurt. Lexington State Senator and Assistant Majority Leader, Mike Barrett. State Representative of the 21st Middlesex District, Ken Gordon. The amazing Sheila Green, Massachusetts State 250th Coordinator. Randy Robertson, Deputy Director of the 66th Air Base Group at Hanscom Air Force Base. Anthony Renzoni, Director of External Engagement at Hanscom Air Force Base. Lieutenant Colonel Geoffrey Love of the Massachusetts National Guard. And from the Select Board, my colleagues Chair Joe Pato, Jill Hay, and Mark Sandine. From the Lexington School Committee, Sarah Cuthbertson, Eileen J., and Deepa Kasani. Our Town Manager Jim Malloy, our Deputy Town Manager Kelly Axtell, and our Lexington School Superintendent, Dr. Julie Hackett. I want to acknowledge and thank the team that worked on the beautiful countdown calendar. It was truly a labor of love and the result of hundreds of hours of designing, planning, building, painting, and finally this week, installation. Anna Petro. Anna, can you stand? I believe Anna's over here. Anna is a student in the architecture program at Endicott College. Thank you so much, Anna. The Lexington Minutemen Company and Steve Connors for purchasing the lanterns and providing the tarp that's covering the calendar. Eric Campbell, the Lexington carpenter extraordinaire who spent countless hours building and installing the calendar. Eric, where are you? Stand up. He was working behind that tarp all weekend. Town Manager Jim Malloy for his approval to use the lawn. Thank you, Jim. Always a thing here in Lexington, trust me. Our Director of Public Works, Dave Pinsino, and Highway Superintendent John Zakari, and their team for all the site prep. And last but certainly not least, Chris O'Neill, one of our local general contractors for all the painting that was done. For the last 2 years, Lex250 has been working to plan events in collaboration with the community to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington. It begins today with our countdown calendar, and it goes up through our nation's 250th birthday in July of 2026. In Lexington, we have intentionally been working with our friends in Arlington, Lincoln, Concord, the Minuteman National Park, and the City of Boston, along with our regional, state, and federal partners to align our events for 2025. We want to be sure that you mark your calendars for April 17th through 21 of 2025 to attend all our special events in Lexington and the surrounding communities. We are honored to announce that during that weekend, the town of Lexington will host a screening of The American Revolution, a 6-part, 12-hour documentary by award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns, and Ken will be present for that. The film will share perspectives from lesser-known soldiers and civilians enslaved and free and Native who waged and witnessed the war. Please note, for 2025, the majority of the events in Lexington will take place on Saturday. If you've lived here long enough, you're used to the Monday events. Saturday, April 19th, 2025. You can stay up to date on all things Lex250 by visiting our official website, lex250.org, that launched today, as well as finding us on social media. We are all very excited about the celebrations that we have planned, and we hope you will join with us as we celebrate this once-in-a-lifetime event. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming to the podium our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll.
Let's hear it one more time for Suzie, who is leading us all in such a tremendous way. I am so thrilled to be with you all this morning, I should say, still morning, to celebrate what is a very special part of our history and our Commonwealth and our country, but frankly to be right here in Lexington, as Suzie was ticking off the list of names of individuals who have helped make today possible and who will be part of the celebration. You heard a lot of volunteers, a lot of ordinary individuals in this community who are stepping up to make sure this history is not just something we all know who live here, but we have an opportunity to share with others. And I really want to recognize the efforts of the town to make sure that this special part of what makes Lexington special is also something that others can enjoy. It's great to live in a community where other people go to vacation or to take that all in, but it takes work. So I want to, as a fellow local official, former local official, I want to recognize the efforts of our locals for bringing it and leaning in to making sure this history is well known and well celebrated. Thank you. You know, here in Massachusetts, we've always been leaders. But before we had the first public library or the first chocolate chip cookie or the first basketball game, we had the American Revolution, where we really leaned in. And as America gears up to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding, we're all gathered here today to commemorate the fact that it all started right here in the town of Lexington. We know the Battle of Lexington as the first major battle of the American Revolution. It's the event that kick-started the next 3 years that got us one step closer to declaring our independence. It literally was the shot heard round the world. But it's also the first time that the people of Lexington, the farmers, the merchants, the teachers, the tradesmen, they came together to defend their community. It was the people of Massachusetts, and certainly those right here in Lexington, that saw a new future for America and fought for it. Those are the stories that we're here today to recognize and to celebrate with a countdown of what that will actually mean on the 250th anniversary a year from now. And as we commemorate America's founding, we're going to make sure everyone is seen and celebrated. The stories of not just the colonists, but also of the indigenous people, the people of African origin, both free and enslaved, immigrant enclaves, women activists, religious groups. We want to make sure as we think about America's 250th, we honor and recognize the stories that are well known, and also those that have not been told. We feel that's part of this opportunity that we have in commemorating our 250th anniversary. So over the next 2 years, we hope to commemorate all of this history for all of our people, and frankly, the core of the Massachusetts story. You know, I'm from a historic community in Salem, spent some time there, and I like to say we have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to history in Massachusetts. We know that we can celebrate that across our entire Commonwealth. We have revolutionary ideas that took place here in Lexington and so many places, and we want to lean in and showcase that chutzpah that we know, those of us who are fortunate enough to live in Massachusetts, that spirit of independence and revolution that has made Massachusetts a birthplace of innovation and an education. We see this anniversary as a catalyst for growing and elevating our tourism industry. You know, we have statewide tourism, the third largest industry in Massachusetts. We have a unique story to tell, and we are going to tell it. Governor Healy and I are both very much proud of the economic development bill that has additional funding for tourism, a lot of it tied to the 250th. It does take dollars to market and promote and share that story. And frankly, it's part of a campaign, and it's something that we view as, yes, good to do for the economy, something we should celebrate and commemorate, but frankly, a civic responsibility. Think about how fortunate we are to live here, a place where others go to visit, to walk on the same streets as the colonial leaders did before us, to play on the same green where ordinary citizens train to protect their fellow neighbors, to share a legacy of people who are willing to fight for their independence and for a better way of life for themselves and their families. That was born here in Massachusetts, and a lot of it started here in Lexington, truly the birthplace of American liberty. So this is not just about commemorating that important history. This is not just about a celebration. We will have a celebration. We're good at celebrating. We're going to do that. But we also see this as a civic responsibility to live up to the ideals and freedoms that others fought for, to ensure that the lessons that we have learned and we have taught through these amazing experiences are not lost on those of us who are so fortunate to live in this Commonwealth today. So I want to say thank you for kicking us off, Lexington, for leaning in, for making sure every single day between now and the anniversary, we're going to have this sense of urgency to make sure we're doing all that we can to tell these stories, to commemorate this history, and to never forget that it all started right here in Lexington. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for your support of the 250th events being planned across the Commonwealth, especially here in Lexington and along our Battle Road corridor.
This is worthy of a huzzah. This is worthy of a huzzah!
Thank you. I would next like to welcome Dr. Peter Abbott, OBE, British Consul General for New England, to the podium.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Firstly, I wanted to say a huge thank you, Suzie, to you, to your team, and the whole of the City of Lexington for having us here today. Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Senator Barrett, State Representatives, Consul General Soykurt, distinguished guests, friends and colleagues, it's good to be with you this afternoon. On Sunday night, for the purposes of what I was told was historical accuracy, I took a can of shaving foam and a razor, and with some trepidation set about shaving off my beard of more than 15 years. I rose early the next morning, retraced the route from Boston to Lexington that my countrymen made 249 years previously, and red coat on my back and sword at my side, marched down this road with His Majesty's 10th Regiment of Foot, and confronted, as we do every year, the determined and slightly frightened band of Minutemen arrayed on Battle Green. It is only a reenactment, of course, but during the short period of time that I was out there on the common, in the smoke and the noise and the confusion, I felt a small measure of the terror that Redcoat and Minuteman alike must have felt during that cold, dark dawn in 1775. The only sacrifice I had made was shaving off my beard, but many men that day would make the ultimate sacrifice. Patriots fighting for their God-given right to self-determination, British soldiers fighting for their country far away from home. After the reenactment, I joined a smaller ceremony at the old burial ground just over there. We stopped in front of a grave marked simply, the grave of a British soldier, wounded April 19, died in Buckman Tavern, April 22, 1775. And as we stood to attention at the grave, a company of Americans raised their muskets and fired a volley in remembrance of that dead soldier buried in a foreign field. 249 years ago, neither side knew what was to follow the events that took place here in Lexington. The loss of life, the damage to property, and the seemingly irreparable damage done to the deep bonds of affection between Britain and America. Seemingly irreparable. Because the most extraordinary thing about the reenactment that I took part in on Monday morning was that I was there at all. 249 years ago, the idea that in 2024 His Majesty's official representative in Boston would be taking part in such an event would have seemed like wild fantasy. That we went from warring enemies to establishing the deepest partnership the world has ever seen, fighting side by side with the French for freedom in World War II, to investing over $1 trillion in each other's economies, to working to tackle our greatest challenges, from climate change to cancer. All completely unthinkable in 1775. When Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II visited Boston to celebrate America's bicentennial, she spoke these words from the old State House. If Paul Revere, Sam Adams, and other patriots could have known that one day a British monarch would stand beneath the balcony of the old State House and be greeted in such kind and generous words, well, I think they would have been extremely surprised. But, she went on, but perhaps they would also have been pleased. Pleased to know that eventually we came together again as free peoples and friends and defended together the very ideals for which the American Revolution was fought. I think that if John Parker and Joseph Warren and all those who died at Lexington could have known that we would be standing here together, firm friends and allies, they would, like Her Majesty, have been both surprised and pleased. Suzie, I wish you, your team, and all the people of Lexington the very best as you prepare for this remarkable anniversary. God bless America, and God save the King. I'm not really sure I should be wearing this. There we go. It's too small anyway.
Thank you, Dr. Abbott. Please join me in welcoming the Consul General of France in Boston, Mr. Mustafa Soykurt, to the podium.
I am going to wear the hat. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Lieutenant Governor, dear Senator, dear Commission Chair, Monsieur le Consul Général, dear Peter, dear friends. It is with great emotion that I join you today on this very special occasion. It takes us back to this crucial moment in the history of your country, I would say of our countries, the birth of American Revolution. As French citizens, we are familiar with the concept of revolutions. We did several. But the American Revolution predates even Bastille Day, which took place in 1784. It marked the beginning of your fight for freedom and the start of the enduring political relationship between France and the United States. This makes France the oldest ally of the United States. 249 years ago today, the first shots of the American Revolution echoed across the fields of Lexington. As we gather here today, we honor the bravery of those who stood in Lexington and Concord, their muskets raised in defense of liberty. The Battle of Lexington was brief, yet its impact left an indelible mark. It was here that the instruments of warfare shifted from the pen to the sword, as John Adams so eloquently put it. But beyond the clash of arms, this battle symbolized something greater, a shared commitment to liberty, justice, and the pursuit of a better world. As we commemorate this historic milestone, it is important to reflect also on the enduring friendship between France and the United States. Our nations have stood side by side in times of triumph and adversity, bound not only by treaties and alliances, but by a profound belief in the values of liberté and égalité. From Lafayette's unwavering support during the American Revolution to the trenches of World War I and World War II, our soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder, their common purpose transcending borders. Yet today, the memory of this battle, of a collective fight for freedom, invites us to commemorate, to remember together, hand in hand with the United States and also with the United Kingdom. The fact that we are all here in this special place at this exceptional time is proof of the durability of our relationship with our American and British friends. And for the strong ties that bind our three nations, 2024 is another unique year as it marks the 18th anniversary of the Allied landings of our Normandy beaches, 4 years after the Battle of Dunkirk, and the touching help of the American people to save British and French soldiers. Through the commemoration of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, I am therefore inviting us to work on a broader remembrance so as not to forget history, the history that brings us together and that unites us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soykurt. Please join me in welcoming Lexington State Senator and Assistant Majority Leader Mike Barrett to the podium.
Suzie just mentioned to me that I already have a hat. So she promises a substitute. I'll look forward to that. Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Mr. Consul General of the United Kingdom, Mr. Consul General of the French Republic, good to see you sitting side by side. Lex250 Commission Chair and Select Board Member Suzie Berry, who really needs a round of applause. She's done a terrific job. Members of the William Diamond Jr. Fife and Drum Corps, assembled guests and dignitaries. In Lexington, the cool calendar we're about to see is a little bit of a drum roll. It's about building up the drama. But that's not all it is. As we subtract the days, Lexington intends to add context. Behind every great story, there's a backstory, often more complicated, and people around here have dedicated themselves to telling it. Complicated stories are part of this town's heritage. I'm pleased to represent both Concord and Lexington in the State Senate, and I can tell you that the reenactment of April 19, 1775 in Concord at the Old North Bridge is a little different in tone than the reenactment here. I hope it's fair to say that the vibe in Concord is triumphant. It's about a steely demonstration of courage and resolve without much of a tragic undercurrent, and understandably so. The original battle there took place at around 11 a.m. in the morning. At that point, New Englanders were up for a fight, and the British regulars were strung out along the road for several miles. Around 100 of them actually reached the bridge, where about 400 New Englanders from all over Massachusetts were waiting. A 4-to-1 ratio in our favor. Not bad. As dramatic as the confrontation at the Old North Bridge was, Not a single combatant from Concord was killed. Lexington's story takes us to a different place. On the town green, much earlier that day, in the pre-morning dark, the British were still massed together, numbering not 100 as they would later in Concord, but 300 to 400. And at that point, the home forces numbered 77. A 4-to-1 ratio again, but this time in Britain's favor. The Lexington experience was also about courage and resolve, without a doubt, but this time our side was badly outnumbered. Of course, we don't know who fired the first shot here, and so far as we're aware, no one on our side had the specific intention of launching the American War for Independence on that particular day. The immediate result, it seems, the most visceral impact, had to do with the magnitude of death in a small place where everybody knew each other. 7 Lexington men killed, and the British troops moving on without a single fatality. To Lexington's great credit, its reenactment does not sugarcoat any of this. Each year, in the pre-dawn, we stand in silent witness around the green to a portrayal of a one-sided slaughter. In Concord, we celebrate. In Lexington, we commemorate. None of us can be happy about what the people of this community went through. But the story, as we know, did not stop there. As the British left, writes historian Paul Hackett Fisher, the people of the town gathered on the common. There was at first a sense of shock, a terrible, numb, and empty feeling of cruel and bitter loss. Then there was another raw emotion, deep, consuming, abiding anger. Almost immediately, despite the trauma, Lexingtonians gathered the dead, tended to the wounded, and regrouped. When the British had to turn around and march back through this town on their retreat to Boston, Minutemen and militia from multiple communities poured on the fire, and Lexingtonians exacted what we would all have to acknowledge today as revenge, and a war was on. Now, today's speakers, me included, were invited to talk about what the Battle of Lexington means for us personally. For me, the town's fortunes on April 19th are a reminder that progress does not travel in a straight line. We, each of us individually, but the country too, are sure to go through rough patches. We'll be confronted at times by superior forces. We're going to feel unsure. We're going to make mistakes. And then we too will regroup. Last week at the reenactment, we began the process, not yet finished because there is more truth to tell, of elevating the roles that Lexington women played back then. Because who do we imagine rallied whom? Who do we think put the organizational spine in the readiness of the town? Jonathan Harrington of Lexington, 16 years old, was sound asleep in his bed on April 19, 1775, when his mother woke him up. "Jonathan, get up," Abigail Harrington said. "The regulars are coming, and something must be done." A month from now, on the morning of the 15th of May, something is being done. Lex See Her, a project, maybe we should call it a movement, holds a woman's visibility ceremony unveiling a monumental piece of new sculpture that will live opposite the Lexington Visitor Center directly across from the Battle Green. In paying belated homage to women of the Revolutionary era and of the eras that have come since, we're regrouping. Collective memory is complicated, and we now see things we didn't see before. In the months to come as well, the Association of Black Citizens of Lexington will unveil a series of portrait banners around the downtown in recognition of the black people who fought on April 19th. Some of them free, some of them indentured servants, some of them enslaved. Eli Perdue, Silas Perdue, Prince Estabrook, Venus Rowe, mark their names because we'll be learning their stories too. So 250 years, as our European friends can attest, is young as far as nations go. The history of the town, the state, and the United States is barely written, really. We're writing it now, as we speak. It isn't easy, but it's never been. Back in 1775, people did not even have a country. They had to go out and make themselves one. So what we celebrate every April 19th in Lexington, in Concord, and throughout Massachusetts is the work that it's always taken to be an American. At the end of the day, we're nation builders, and the nation we're building is our own. Thank you. Excellent. Only non-alcoholic will go in this, I swear.
Thank you, Senator Barrett. I'd now like to call upon Lieutenant General Geoffrey Love to speak on behalf of the Massachusetts National Guard.
Lieutenant Colonel. Maybe one day. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, on behalf of Adjutant General Keefe, I'd like to thank the Lexington Semi-Quincentennial Commission for inviting the Massachusetts National Guard to participate in today's commencement of the countdown to April 19th, 2025. We remember Lexington and April 19th as the opening shots of America's war for independence. We remember Robert Monroe, Jonas Parker, and the 6 other men who fell here as victims, while whose sacrifice unified the cause of freedom and gave firmness and resolution to a nation becoming. We read the words on the nation's first war memorial on Lexington Green and remember that Lexington nobly dared to be free on that April morning. We remember Lexington in the United States Army and in the Massachusetts National Guard. Only 4 flags, or colors as we call them, are authorized to fly the Lexington Battle Streamer. Only 4. The first is the United States Army colors, which carries all the battle and campaign streamers earned since 1775. But the other 3 colors belong to units in the Massachusetts National Guard, those other 3 units. The 101st Engineers, the 181st, and the 182nd Infantry Regiments, who were organized in 1636, were on the field of battle on April 19th, 1775, and whose service still continues today. By regulation, when these 4 colors are displayed, the Lexington streamer is required to be front and center, the first streamer visible to the viewer, to remember. So, we look forward to the coming year's commemorations, celebrations, and festivities in Lexington. On April 19th, 1775, the towns and cities of Massachusetts came together and made history. We're looking forward to doing it again. Thank you very much.
Lieutenant Colonel. I promoted him, so hopefully the powers that be got it. Got my memo. Thank you. Before we move over to the calendar, I want to let you know that from 1 to 3 this afternoon, we're going to have British tea and colonial talks going on inside Cary Hall right here behind me. Please stop by and have some tea and listen to a talk on a variety of colonial topics. And this evening at 7 p.m. here in Cary Hall, the Lexington Bicentennial Band under the direction of Jeff Leonard will take to the Cary Hall stage for the Countdown to 250 concert. They'll be playing a variety of music, and we invite you to attend this free concert suitable for all ages. It takes 800 people to fill Cary Hall, and I'm challenging you all to bring friends, family, neighbors, whoever you can find to help us truly kick off this day in style. At this time, I would invite the news media and our guests to make their way over to the calendar in front, and I would ask our dignitaries, the Minutemen, and the William Diamond Fife and Drum to hold. We will be processing over in a mini parade over there, but if guests in the news media could make their way over there, we'll join you shortly. Take photos, and thank you so much for coming. This has been a glorious day for Lexington.
We're going to hold it nice and tight. All right.
Okay. Got it.
And right down at the end. Down all the way at the end.
Three huzzahs for the great town of Lexington! Huzzah! Huzzah! Huzzah!